gallon, while oil is over $90 per barrel. And for that, let's bring in America's accountant, Professor Dan Geltrude. Hi there, Dan.
Hey, Allie.
Christina is also joining us for this segment because it is only you, so we do need to add some life to this because it's me and you, so we need to add Christina to the segment as well.
Dan, I do
Happy to have her.
Yes.
It's good to be here also. But what is causing oil prices to be so high? Is there one culprit?
Well, let's take a look back pre-pandemic as to what was going on because gas prices were much lower then. Now, oddly enough, before the pandemic, there was much more demand for, let's say, fuel for cars because people were actually driving to work. And now that's not the case. So one would think, well, that would mean that the price at the pump should obviously come down. But it's not. Why? Well, here's where the culprit is. It's about energy policy. What really has changed is the Biden administration, for whatever their motivation, has said we are better off relying upon others outside the United States to produce oil for us. Remember, we were energy independent just, a year ago? So that's what's changed. It's about policy. We need to be energy independent. And when we do that, we will see the price of oil and ultimately the price at the pump come back down.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of when, but if, right? I mean, we've heard some Democrats say, well, look, if you don't like paying for high prices of gas, you can get an electric car, which electric cars are very expensive. Dan, as an accountant, what advice can you give our viewers balancing that extra cost of gas? Do you go to get a membership at a gas station? Do you fill up on a certain day? What would you advise?
There are a lot of ways that people need to examine, quite frankly, their financial budgets overall. Now, look, fuel is just going to cost more for right now. So if you want to be able to keep your head above water here, you're going to need to figure out what other things you can cut back. So I always tell people in general, you need to establish a financial budget for yourself at the beginning of each year. Now, there are things that you can do related to specifically lowering your fuel costs. And as you said, there are clubs that you could join where you can get cheaper prices when you fill up. Also, you are better off filling up at different times of the week. So it's all these little things, and I know it may only be pennies here and there, but of course, all of this adds up in the end.
Everything, I mean, it does add up. You're right. Pennies can add up to dollars, and that can make a big difference. Is there a specific time when you think we'll see the gas prices begin to level off?
As soon as we start to change policy. Now, unfortunately, I don't see any indication that we're going to have a change in policy, which doesn't make any sense. If you have the demand for fuel, fossil fuel specifically, that is not going to go down based upon where the fuel comes from. So why would we in the United States want to give up any economic competitive advantage to others? It doesn't make sense. So you say, listen, we don't want to drool. Well, maybe that is what we're doing. We don't want to drill. We don't want to drill anymore. We don't want to have pipelines, so we'll let someone else do it. Well, how does that help the environment? All you're doing is shifting it from one part of the planet to the other. Now, granted, we all want a clean environment for all of us. And there are ways to do that. We were working on that with the pipelines, which were very, very safe. What did we do? We shut those down, and we'll rely on someone else to make sure that our planet remains safe.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
It doesn't. And, you talk about these are all signs, right, that we should be producing our own oil in America. But do you think that's going to change, or maybe 2022 that will change? Because it doesn't seem like the lawmakers want to make any changes.
Well, I think it's like anything else. You need to have a change in who's in charge. And Congress is controlled by one party. And it happens to be the same party as the White House, right? The Democrats. So they basically have control overall of what the policies are. And until that starts to change, there will be no change. And unfortunately, everyone seems to be stuck in ideology as opposed to reality. And the things that we were just talking about, supply and demand, and more importantly, when it comes to fuel, where does that supply come from? Do we want to give up control of supply when we know demand is not per se going to come down? It fuels more inflation.
Absolutely.
We know that it can't be the answer to all of these problems, but is electric energy at least an answer to some of the problems that we're seeing with fuel right now?
Well, it may be, but I think we're a long way off from really being able to have electricity take over for everything. I think it's just simply impossible given our infrastructure and other things. Listen, I know there are some places in the United States that want to mandate us having electric stoves. Now, I ask you, do you want to have an electric stove or have it mandated?
No,
I don't think so.
It's so hard to cook with an electric stove. I have one now, and I prefer gas. It's really hard if you are a good cook.
It takes forever.
But it's
And even electric vehicles, and I get there are some great qualities about them, but the thing that concerns me about having an electric vehicle is that where do you recharge, right? So that anxiety of running out of battery life, I think that's real. So that goes to a much larger infrastructure situation, right? So electric vehicles right now are not the answer per se to replacing gas-powered vehicles. It's just not. It's not reality right now.
Yeah, I think I'd be tough on myself because when I drive, I let the gas get down to E, and I can normally find a gas station. But if it's an electric car, I'm out of luck. Same thing for my phone and my battery. Dan Geltrude, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
And stay with us. Coming up next, we'll have much more on Wake Up America Weekend. Stay with us.